Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a foundational concept that honestly trips up almost every single organization on the planet. We're going to dive into exactly why deeply, truly understanding your workflow is the absolute non-negotiable first step before you even think about rolling out some shiny new technology or automation. There's a massive trap in modern business, and it's viewing technology as this magic silver bullet that will just fix everything. But the reality is, applying advanced AI or automation to a broken, inefficient process, well, that's just going to help you produce the exact wrong results, only faster. It's such a tempting shortcut, but we literally have to earn the right to automate. And we do that by rolling up our sleeves and fixing the underlying process first. All right, here is our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the prerequisite to automation, then explore productive versus elapsed time. From there, we'll dive into value stream maps, zoom in on detailed process maps, and finally walk through exactly how to run a real-world mapping session. So, jumping right into section 1, the prerequisite to automation. Let's look at how we can actually get a deeply accurate picture of how work gets done today. To really fix a process, you've got to put yourself entirely in the customer's shoes. From their perspective, every single step in your workflow has to add value. Delays, waste, they absolutely must be minimized to maximize that customer value. We have to ruthlessly justify every single action our organization takes, measuring it strictly against the tangible value it delivers to the end user. But here's the catch. What exactly is value? It can be highly subjective, and that subjectivity breeds a ton of friction. Think about waiting 20 minutes at the pharmacy for a prescription. Now, someone behind the counter might insist that every single minute of that waiting period is absolutely essential for patient safety, to prevent giving out the wrong medication. But is it really? Or is that just resistance to change masked as caution? We see this subjective idea of value create real stubborn resistance to speeding up operations all the time. Moving on to section 2, productive versus elapsed time. We're going to need a fundamental mindset shift to overcome that exact kind of resistance. The crucial thing here is that we have to draw a hard, definitive line between two very different types of time. On one side, we have productive time, which is the minutes or hours spent actually doing the physical or mental work. On the other side, we have elapsed time, which is the time the work just sits there gathering dust, waiting to be done. A truly value-added process has almost zero elapsed time. You want your work constantly moving forward, not just sitting in a pile on someone's desk. Let's make this real with a few scenarios we've all painfully suffered through. Think about airport baggage. It takes maybe 5 minutes of actual productive work to move the bags off the plane, yet we often spend 20 to 30 minutes staring blankly at an empty carousel. Or what about the dreaded corporate expense report? It takes 10 minutes to actually type in the data, but almost 2 full weeks of elapsed time just to get your own money back. And hotel check-in? 3 minutes of typing, 15 minutes standing in a lobby line. The disparity between actual work and waiting time in our daily lives is absolutely staggering. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's a total shift in perspective. These services aren't slow because the tasks are hard. Moving a suitcase or cutting an expense check is incredibly easy. They are slow entirely because the flow is just completely inefficient. The root cause in all of these frustrating scenarios boils down entirely to a broken workflow. Let's look at section 3, the value stream map. This is the macro-level tool we use to pinpoint and fix these exact inefficiencies. To fix your flow, you first have to actually see it. Enter the value stream map, or VSM for short. Think of the VSM as drone footage of your operations. It gives you this broad, high-level snapshot. Its main job isn't to get bogged down in the tiny, minute details, but rather to focus your imagination on exactly where the massive delays and chunks of waste are hiding between the major steps of your process. Imagine the sales department at a shoe manufacturer receiving retail orders. A standard value stream map blocks out the major sequence, right? Approve order, credit check, assemble the order, and pack and ship. But the real aha moment is in the massive spaces between those steps. Those spaces represent the hidden delays. When you realize that the value-added work is just a tiny fraction of the total fulfillment time, your entire perspective immediately shifts to eliminating all that dead air. All right, section 4, the detailed process map. Now we're transitioning from that wide-angle drone footage right down to the microscope. Once the VSM shows us exactly where the delays are, we need a surgical tool to figure out exactly why they exist. That's where the process map comes in. It provides a highly granular, detailed view. It breaks the whole process down into much finer steps. It flags crucial decision points, and a really mature map even includes expected activity times. This right here is what allows us to create true mathematical models of our operational efficiency. To build these detailed blueprints, we rely on a standardized visual language. And while there's no single universal standard, there are heavily relied upon defaults across most industries. Rectangles stand for a step, process, or operation. D-shapes represent a delay. Triangles denote storage. And diamonds, those represent decisions. Using these specific symbols magically turns a messy, chaotic workflow into a readable, actionable map that literally everyone in the company can instantly understand. Let's see this visual language in action for a second. Picture a hospital emergency department. A physician examines a patient, and then they hit a critical decision point, a diamond on our map. Are labs required? Depending on whether the answer is yes or no, the map fractures into entirely different paths. Process maps let us clearly see and rigorously account for every single one of these branching realities in our workflow. Which brings us to Section 5, the mapping session. It's time to pull all of this out of the theoretical framework and put it into practice. Here is an absolute golden rule for you. You cannot, and I mean cannot, build an accurate process map sitting alone in a corner office. It is absolutely impossible. You must hold a highly collaborative mapping session that relies entirely on the direct, real-world input of the people who actually perform the daily work. They are the ones who know exactly where the real bottlenecks are hiding. So how do we pull this off? It comes down to 6 precise steps. First, define the problem. Second, identify your starting and end points. Third, determine your level of detail. Fourth, and this one is absolutely critical, schedule a Gemba walk. This is a Japanese term that basically means going to the actual place of work to see the as-is reality, not just whatever the company handbook claims happens. From there, you draw the map. And finally, you undertake additional drafts to refine it until it's perfect. Let's wrap this up with some key takeaways. To prime any organization for true automation, keep these core principles as your North Star. Always draw a value stream map before you start analyzing efficiency. Ruthlessly separate your value-added activities from the non-value ones. Understand the exact difference between productive and elapsed time. Make sure you speak the visual language, using proper symbols, logically show your activity times, deeply engage your frontline workers, and above all, expect to iterate multiple times. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. But I want to leave you with one final provocative question. What hidden delays will you uncover when you finally map your own workflow? I highly challenge you to apply these macro and micro tools to your own organization's operations. You might just be shocked at how much elapsed time is hiding in plain sight. Thanks so much for diving into this with me.